Hello.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself.
My healing journey was a not yet, right now type thing. I
Yeah,
kept pushing it off. I find that that's like good to talk about for people
of
who
course.
are afraid to start the healing journey. So,
Of course. Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's very valid. So people can have grace and compassion for themselves and to understand how challenging it is to face your biology and have to face these emotions and these complex experiences and make sense of it now that is so challenging. And if you don't have the safety within or somebody outside to anchor into their nervous system for that co-regulation of safety, it's like, don't give me any of this bullshit. I don't want to deal with it. And let
yeah,
me, like,
yeah,
I'll be in my head. Don't bring me back in my body. I don't want it. Leave me alone. So, yeah,
right.
thank you for that language for
Yeah,
people.
absolutely. And the whole thing with Moody it's really a part of my healing journey. That when I created them, it really like brought out my abilities, my capabilities to share
Mhm.
and to help others heal as well.
Okay. Okay. Sounds great. I love talking about trauma and the nervous system and the different ways we can go to for healing. So this is my bread and butter, my passion that I love to swim into. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Sounds amazing.
Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Jennifer. I'm so thankful you're here with me.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Would you join me in a meditation so that we can sync our hearts and our breaths together for this conversation?
Yes, I would love that.
And for the listeners that you always probably hear, I know some of you may be driving or running or doing something. So, the part of closing your eyes, please do not do. I want safety on the road and everybody else to be safe. However, the other prompts you're able to follow and take that moment for yourself. So, Jennifer, I'll ask you to close your eyes and begin breathing in and out through your nose. And bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. Don't try to control your breath. Just allow it to go in and out at its own rhythm while just observing, becoming aware of your inner state while keeping your awareness on your breath. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up, and it's okay. You're safe to feel, you're safe to let go. Keeping your awareness on your breath, staying focused with the breath, dropping into the now, dropping into your body, while still staying with your breath. Jennifer, I'm going to ask you to create an intention in your mind of what you want to bring forth in this conversation and what you would want the listeners to gather from this conversation. And I'll be doing the same. And when you've created that intention, I'll ask you to release it in your thoughts, your mind, allow it to drop into your nervous system, down into your throat, your voice, further down into your heart, into your body, into your spirit, into your life force, while still staying focused with your breath and dropping further into the body and allowing that intention to grow. Still staying with the breath. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Be in the now. Feel the safety from within and surrounding you. While still staying with your breath, I'm going to ask you at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while still staying with your breath. How's your heart doing?
Nice, and it's slowed down. It feels comfortable and open.
Can you let the listeners know who Jennifer is?
Sure, I'd love to. So I am a single mom of two boys, and I live with complex PTSD and major depressive disorder from childhood trauma. I've spent many, many years of my life running away from the healing journey that I had to get on when my brain told me that I had to stop everything and do it right now. And I am thankful to my brain, my mind, that they are giving me the chance to do this. But I do really feel like I should have started this journey a long time ago when I was younger. But I think fear was what really held me back from, starting that journey, always putting it off for what's going on in that moment, and not allowing myself to give myself the time and what I deserve to heal my heart.
The thing about trauma is, as you said, it's loving your brain, not chastising it. It's having understanding of what these defense mechanisms did to cope and to navigate through it all, yet having compassion and loving of, okay, I understand it. So now how can we shift it so that we can feel joy again, that we can feel light in our life force in our everyday, and that it's not so dark and gloomy. Can you let the listeners know what that looked like for, what your brain did, and what types of modalities did you use for that healing journey?
Sure. So I've spent many years in therapy from when I was a child, all the way through to my adulthood and up until now. But I don't think I put my whole heart into it. I think that, like we discussed, my brain just did not want to go into that dark space, and was afraid that if I did, that I would just drop off the face of the earth. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I needed to do. So my brain kept saying, "Not now," or "I'm sorry." I kept saying, "Not now" to my brain, I guess, and putting it off until there was too much going on, that there was too much trauma that I had come into in my adulthood, and that the trauma was now stopping me from doing the things that I needed to do.
Yeah.
So when I got onto my journey, uh, it was it was important for me to give myself grace and to, recognize when I needed to say, "It's okay, Jen. You can step back and you can do this for yourself."
Yeah, you're deserving of it. For any listeners that may be starting their journey, or they don't even want to talk about it, or they're on there, as you said, you were doing therapy since a young child. And once you become trauma informed, you recognize if there is not safety, the nervous system's not going to open up. And you can be present with something, yet if you are not actually feeling the safety, you're not able to trust yourself in the ability to open up. And that's why the clients that I work with, they've gone through a lot of therapy, and then they come see me and they're like, I haven't been able to access this with my therapist and I don't understand why. And it's like, well, the nervous system that I have helps you co-regulate so that you feel safety to be honest with yourself. Because there's stories that we tell ourselves to give a persona of I'm okay and what the world will accept to feel a sense of belonging, because the true essence of what we're feeling or what we've navigated through, we don't think people will be able to accept it. And in truth, there are some people that would not accept it. So again, your biology is protecting you. Yet the most important person that you think won't accept it is yourself. And it's to come back, not in a fragmented place, but in a whole place with a W, and to integrate all these splintered parts that got distorted. That's what trauma does. It just separates you and fragments so many things. And to come back into the big S, the big self, it's like, oh no, like I don't know what worth is. I don't know what this sense of belonging or that I have value. Like that doesn't make sense to me, and it feels very threatening. I'm thankful that you opened up the dialogue, that it took you time. Even though you did therapy from a child, you really didn't go into the depth, the vertical of really opening up with that honesty. Can you give some language to what that looked like, the resistance for you?
Sure. So the resistance for me was always trying to be the perfect Jen for everyone that was around me. You know, my friends, my family, my boyfriend, just whoever I was with people I worked. I needed to be that perfect person for them. And that's why I kept saying, not now, not yet. Because I'd say, not yet, I'm in college. Not yet, I just got a job. Not yet, I'm a mother, and that pushing that away in order to be someone that other people wanted me to be wasn't doing the right thing for myself. And it wasn't doing anyone any good for me to be doing that, because it was just stress. And, not being able to, like you said, not having your parts all together in one place, dealing with whatever you have to deal with in that current moment. You have your different parts of yourself that are saying, hey, 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 don't do it this way. Don't, and then another one saying, no, 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 you need to do it this way. And your brain's just on fire. Your body is on fire.
Mhm.
Your limbs, like your nervous system is on fire. And that's what the complex PTSD does. It causes that, that inability to take everything and put it into a whole, because as you said, it fragments everything and causes your parts to fight against each other.
And did I explain it properly? Does that feel like a sense of what you experienced?
Yes, yeah. So I experienced that I needed to be a model, like a model person. And the thing is that I didn't have models.
Yeah.
So, right. So I was making it up as I was going along, unsure of everything in my life, because I didn't have that model to really grab onto and understand how to navigate the world and life.
Mhm. Yeah, not having that modeling and that safety. And can I ask, how was it to interact with your emotions? Because I'm sure there were certain emotions that you didn't allow yourself to feel, that with the healing coming and allowing yourself to feel these big emotions, how was that process?
So that process in the beginning, when I was young, it was dangerous to show feelings
Yeah.
and had to keep them down and keep them away from my abuser because that can be used against me. So I learned to push emotions away like they were on an island and I was swimming away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that for a long time, you start to not be able to understand what the primary emotion you're feeling is. And you tend to jump over to another emotion, a secondary emotion that feels safer.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was feeling fear, I was actually jumping from fear to anger because anger felt like I was in more control. So learning to understand that I'm doing that, I had so one of the therapies that I've gone with that I truly love and it's helped me in so many ways is called DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And one of the coping skills that they have for emotion regulation is checking the facts. So, checking the facts of a situation and how you feel in that situation. And are you feeling the emotion that is a proper emotion for that? So,
Mm-hmm.
it walks you through taking you completely out of emotion and giving you the opportunity to look at it from outside and to recognize that you've been doing this jumping to a secondary emotion. So now let's focus on the primary emotion. Now, how are we going to do some coping skills for that? So it was something that was just opened up a whole world for me when I started DBT because it really focused on okay, these are the feelings that you have when you have PTSD. How can we create a plethora of coping skills for you so that you have a coping skills like box toolbox and you
Yeah.
can open that up at any time in your life and whether it be in the moment or something that you need to work on over time and gives you that opportunity to find the right way to cope with the right emotion.
Yeah. To allow that authenticity. I know this is a big buzzword right now that everybody's like, oh, be authentic, be true to myself. And it's like, okay, well, that means you got to feel your authentic emotions, not the ones that you think a la carte and will look good, or like you said, jump to a secondary because that feels more tolerable. It's actually feeling your emotions in real time, being able to process and be able to give language. And I think the most important part, there's not this arrival of, oh, I'm regulated and it's peaceful all the time. That's not a healthy nervous system. It's going to go up and down. It's going to get dysregulated. It's about, okay, how do I regulate it back? Because, being human is traumatic as you're always threatened psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. And so being able to come back to this space of, am I safe? And am I feeling my emotions, not covering them up because of the sense of belonging or connection? And don't get me wrong, there's sometimes, as long as you can identify it internally, it does not mean externally everybody has to know what's going on. But a lot of times we cannot even identify what we are actually feeling internally. But at the beginning, it's going to be messy. And I think that that's what I'm trying to support the language for people so that they don't have like, oh, well, I'm 30 or I'm 40 or I could be 60 and I should have it all together because I'm this age and this adult and these experiences. Yet I would be like, but if you shut this off when you were 5, these are how many decades that you have to connect back into, and you think you're going to have it all together? Or you're going to have this perfection of an image. It's like, this is where the grace comes in and reparenting to have compassion. And it's really important, I think, to find not just professionals, it's also, if you open yourself up, you find a tribe of people that you can feel that safety with. And were you able to find that tribe of people to find that safety for yourself?
I've been lucky. I've had the same four best friends since I was in college, about freshman year of college, and we're actually going away on our 50th birthday. This is the 50th art this year, and we're going away together so that we can spend time as our little group and just enjoy not doing anything,
Exactly.
together together, right? So I'm very lucky in that sense that I have had these women in my life that have always been my cheerleaders and have always checked in to make sure that I'm doing okay. Because they know they've seen me throughout the years, the things that I've gone through. I mean, one of my best friends, she was there for me the day that I had to go to court to put my father in prison, and she knew what to do for me to make me feel safe after being in such a um, polarizing and just absolutely dysregulating situation. So I'm glad to be able to say that I have that. I know there are people who go through the world who have not had these close relationships that they know that they can feel safe in. And what I tell them is, really take a look at the people who are around you. Are you just not seeing that they're there for you? And if you still don't feel like they're there for you, then maybe it's time to find a new space. You know, I I got into a group, a women's group in my area that is all about spirituality, all about healing. We're there for each other. There are groups out there of people who can understand what you've been through and really be there for you. They don't have to be 30 years that you've known them. They can be 10 minutes and you found your tribe by just
Yeah.
feeling it, right?
You're blessed. You're blessed to, because that's the one thing about trauma is very difficult to receive. You've learned to always give and make other people comfortable and at peace so that you're not harmed. Yet to open yourself up to receive is a very vulnerable state. Yet if you don't receive, you're not able to feel the joy within yourself and feel your own love. So, and it shows the work that you're doing because even trusting new people, that's its own process also to open up because the mind is like, oh, this is uncertain. We can't read these people. We don't know past information. So your mind will go to the back in the past and try to find ways of negative of trying to see, oh no, wait, that might be wrong, that might be wrong, oh, they're going to harm you here. So always being in suspense of looking for things that will be a threat. So to shift that to be like, no, we're going to open up and we're going to look at these people and we're going to see, and whenever there's a cue, will know how to protect ourselves, but we don't have to go looking for the threat all the time and identify with that. But that's warrior work to do that. Have you experienced that for yourself?
I think that many people with trauma, they are constantly self-doubting their own understanding of situations, and they're self-doubting of the people around them. I honestly I used to not be able to trust a soul around me, even in the times where I've had my best friends. I've turned around in harder times. I've been like, I don't think that they're really there for me. I don't think that they're backing me in my time of need, because we're used to, and if it's a childhood abuse or domestic violence situation, we're used to loving someone who's hurting us,
Yeah.
right? And so that duality of a relationship really gets to the core of you and changes your whole system.
Yeah. It's very distorting. Very, very distorting. And if it can feel very counterintuitive also with going into a healthy way, yet you're so programmed in the unhealthy way. So then it's like, oh no, it's so confusing internally. And there's some battles that go on that you have to find out, like, well, what is the true voice, not the fear and the past experiences and whatnot. Can you let the listeners know about my Moody Monster?
Oh, I would love to. So Moody is probably my love story to my healing process. So one day I was in a therapeutic group and I was having a lot of frustration with my symptoms. And I said, I wish I had a monster that I could rip apart and throw across the room and bang against the wall. And some of the people in the group were like, yeah, you should have that. And so I went home, and I'm not a seamstress or a tailor or anything like that, but I put together a doll and they had detachable arms, legs, and a head. And I really, after using them for a while, I thought, this is something that could really help families
Mhm.
to better communicate emotions. Because, many of us who are parents now grew up in that generation where we were told not to show our emotions,
Mhm.
not to make anybody uncomfortable with our emotions. Don't be an angry girl. Your crying is upsetting grandma, whatever it may be. And not getting that validation that all emotions are real and acceptable. It's just how you learn to cope with them.
Mhm.
So I went through an accelerator program for entrepreneurs and really got control of what I needed Moody to be. And I I am absolutely in love with the way that my healing has happened because of them, because of the people that I've been in contact with, who I've worked with to talk about Moody, the therapists that I've tested with, the teachers and the families. They've given me wonderful feedback about how Moody has allowed their children to let out those frustrations in a safe way and not feel that shame spiral after.
Mhm.
My oldest son, he had a lot of emotional issues and behavioral issues, and he would have a blow up and he would have the shame spiral after, feeling like what he did was so wrong and how bad of a boy am I. And it was awful to watch. And I felt for him. And I wish that I had something like a Moody to be like, just take it out on this, get it all out. And then we're going to put Moody back together again and talk about what happened. Why do you feel this way? And what can we do to make like a coping skill to help you the next time?
Mhm.
So Moody, so Moody's been an awesome journey for me and has really helped me branch out and reach out to the community. uh, One of the things that I decided to do, I had always been afraid to talk about my mental health because the stigma,
Mhm.
you know, and I decided that's what I was going to do, is that I was going to open up and talk about my mental health in public. And I created a YouTube channel and I created Moody Talks. And what I do is every month I pick an emotion. And throughout the month, I talk about coping skills that could help with those. And doing that has really helped me to develop my toolbox.
Yeah.
I've, been able to really like now have those because I've talked about them and I've talked with others about them and how they can bring that into their world. So yeah, Moody is definitely my love child with my
Yeah.
healing journey.
It's your alchemy, taking those impurities and turning them into gold, really supplying the need that you needed. Like, I know a lot of my clients, it's anger is a really challenging emotion to interact with because anger shames so much and it has such a bad rap. And I'm like, you have to befriend anger. Anger is healthy. It's a messenger trying to communicate something to you. And sometimes it doesn't have to make sense. It just needs to be expressed. So, and especially with parents, I'll say now I have another recommendation for them to get the Moody Monster. Yet I'll be like, well, my child is like angry or frustrated, or even they say they want to say some things to me, but they don't know how. And I'm like, well, have a sock fight. Get a pile of socks and start throwing socks at each other. You're not going to get harmed, yet you can let that frustration out that, you're not listening to me, or I'm this, or like, whatever needs to be expressed, that at least there's communication with those emotions, and it doesn't have to be careful what you say because it has to look a certain way. And it's like emotions are messy. At the moment, they're going to say a bunch of things that isn't meant. It's just, I don't know how else to express this. And for children, especially, we as parents are supposed to be that container for all that messiness, for us to help them make sense of it. So, yes, we're going to be attacked. Yes, there's going to be foul language. Yes, there's going to be hurtful things because they're hurt and they don't know how to interact with this. And that's the only way that they can make sense of this. So thank you for, that alchemy. Like it's truly alchemy you've created.
Thank you. And you're so right. I get asked a lot about how can I as a parent help my child to, better understand their emotions. And I always say, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help your kid.
Mhm.
We all have those difficult emotions that we have, triggers for and that scare us. And what we need to do is to model to our children that, this is how I'm learning to deal with my feelings. So let's do this together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It really is hard for parents in the moment to step back and say, okay, now I'm angry because they're bothering me, they're doing something, they're angry at me. Okay, what do we do to communicate this together and talk about it? And that's one of the reasons why Moody's great, because parents can use that to model to their child, oh, I'm angry too, so let's just rip Moody apart together, and let's just throw him around and see what happens, and take big breaths and then put Moody back together again and talk about it.
Yeah.
This is how I feel, and that's how you're feeling. How can we come to make it flow together so that we can heal together?
And that's the modeling, not just hiding emotions. Because when I hear parents and it's like, oh no, I can't show them that I'm angry or that I cried, and I'm like, well, how are they going to learn to be a human being? How are they going to learn to
Exactly.
process things?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And
go ahead.
yeah, we were modeled by our parents, like, don't show emotion. That's not appropriate. It's always it's better to look good than to feel good type,
Yeah.
type thing, is like everything's perfectly fine. I don't have emotions. I am a Stepford wife. You know?
Yeah. Like I call it the toxic positivity. Everything's positive. Look at everything in a great way. And it's like, wait, you got to look at the shadows. You got to feel the whole spectrum so that you can be a human. Like everything has a light and a shadow to it. And if you only do a la carte, that we're only going to look at this, there's going to be a buildup and it's going to come knocking at the door with a big gush of energy that could bring illnesses, and all of a sudden you won't even realize how you were treating people because you were so unrelatable to others because you're just looking at it this way. And a lot of times when people are like, oh, just think positive and just stay positive, and then they're like, well, that person isn't doing it right, so that's their problem. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like everybody has their life experiences, and let's relate with each other, not using again this judgment and this not having an ability to hold space for everybody and allow there to be some emotions in there. Part of the healing requires you to do that shadow work. And everybody wants like the unicorn pooping out rainbows and everything's great. And it's like, oh, no, like, no, there's some shadows, there's some valleys that you have to go in those shadows, and got to remember that it's your light of awareness to bring those shadows in so that you integrate and you can see it and feel it, yet also allow it to no longer control your behavior. because those shadows hijack your behavior and you're wondering, well, why did I? And it's like, you're not acknowledging these shadows. So of course they're going to hijack when you least expect it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I think that's really the way to go for people because there's such a pushback on, oh, well, I can't do therapy. That's therapy. I don't need that. Or I don't need to look at the way I react to things. They don't want it to be academic, they don't want to have to study, right?
Yeah.
So putting it the way that you put it really gives them a sphere of you know that feeling of that emotion and understanding it.
Yeah. And that it doesn't have to feel so daunting because, the academic part of studying, some people don't even have academics. So then it's like, that's too advanced for me. And let me just stay in this part. And it's like, you're not even tapping into what your potentials are because you may be running off of somebody else's script and story that they've placed onto you rather than tap into who you really can be with your fulfillment, what really sparks you up and what really would, you know, activate your energy rather than drain your energy because you're just doing the motions that is required or whatnot.
We live in a society where it's just get your shit together, and we don't have to live in that society. We don't have to live that way in our lives. We have we as humans are allowed to be human and emote and to feel and to choose what we want to happen in our lives. And I think a lot of people, especially, like in the professional realm, are like, no, it's going to be done this way. You need to do it my way. Like it's not opening life up for people emotionally and letting them steer their own course. I think it's
Mhm.
happening in a couple of like areas. I think women who are in professional positions, now that there are more coming in and we're getting more like CEOs, and we're getting women into all sorts of higher ranking parts of our society. We're starting to see that they're showing us that we can use our emotions to get us through our lives and to better ourselves.
Yeah. Very true, very true. That nurturing aspect too of, okay, and not being, because women have been stigmatized so much with emotions and making it that, oh, it's a woman's problem and men don't have emotions. And then we wonder why so many men are aggressive and violent because they're not feeling the emotions that they need to. And it's like, it's not about female or male, it's about a human being having their complexity and they're tools of emotions because they're messengers. They're here to give you information. Yet you have to feel them to be able to get that information and sort through it. It doesn't mean that it's always truth and it doesn't always mean that it's actual. It's just information. So sort through what that information is for you. Yeah. I want to bring you into a reflective question. I'm going to ask you to take your awareness right now and go back to your 18-year-old self. And you have 3 words to tell your 18-year-old self to carry you along the journey to right now. What would those 3 words be?
Persevere, open heart, and heal. Those are the three that I would tell them. Like I said, the healing journey started as soon as they possibly can. Because if 18-year-old Jen said right now instead of not yet, I think that it would have been a smoother transition into adulthood and motherhood, uh, being a friend and a family member.
Yeah. And it's all, and that also we have to have compassion of we want to think like, oh, we should already be somewhere, or we could have gotten so much stuff. And it's like, you only can do good when you know better, and you can only do as much as your awareness can allow you. So it's really having that grace, because it's like the things that you open up to, it's like, if I would have been back then with all that energy and stuff like that, like it would be so much different. And it's like, okay, let's not change your past. Let's accept, because also like my mind does that to me also. And what I come back with is, well, okay, well, you wouldn't have the knowledge and experience you have right now.
Very true. That's very true. You're absolutely right. And I don't look back so much in the sense that, I wish, I wish, I wish. I look back as as a 50-year-old woman, uh, looking back at my 18-year-old self.
Yeah,
That 18-year-old deserves to heal. And the word persevere is important because there are times in your life that you don't think that you have the capability and you don't think that you have the power inside you to keep going.
it's very true. I always have to remind myself whenever there's big challenges that come up and some things that I haven't experienced yet, which I've experienced a lot, or there's a certain pain that's coming back again, because life is impermanent. So you're going to have to feel it. It's like reminding myself, you have the capacity to stretch. You may not want to stretch, yet you have the capacity to stretch. So just slow things down so you don't try to rush and avoid and deny things. Slow it down so you can take in the curriculum of learning of whatever this experience is, um, which is warrior work. And I've developed my tools. It sounds very simple, which it is. It's just not easy to apply in those moments. Yet I do understand the benefit of it, of not doing that avoidance and running away and numbing. I know there's going to be many listeners that are going to be like, okay, enough now. You've told me everything. Where do I find Jennifer? So can you let the listeners know where they can find you?
Sure. So you can find me on my website. It's mymoodymonster.com, all one word. I'm on all the socials. So any social that you could go on, it's My Moody Monster, all one word. You can go to my YouTube channel and take a look at my Moody Talks. And if you have any questions or comments within those things as well, there's worksheets that are on there. If if you want to talk about those, I'm always open. I'm not a professional, like I'm not a therapist, I'm not anything like that, but I'm somebody who's been through it. And then
Mhm.
sometimes I think that's even so. I'm always open. And then the other part of my YouTube channel is I do Moody story time for the kiddos. So me and Moody, we read a book about big feelings, and those are fun to go through too. If your kiddo needs a little like emotion time, that they can watch those.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much. Like I said, the alchemy, that's all I can say is the alchemy, because what you had to go through as a child and, navigate through, it's a lot of impurities. And especially when, the trauma comes from your main caregiver, your parent, it's really challenging to go through your identity and the enmeshment and all that kind of stuff, that and the shame and guilt and anger, like there's so much in there that if people are willing, even if you haven't experienced it, it's just listen to the story so you have a bit of understanding of what that looks like internally. And it truly is impurities, and you've made the choice to alchemize it into gold and offer the tools to other people that you didn't have, that modeling, that feeling these emotions, being able to give it language, give it expression. You've provided everything that you needed as a child, and you're giving these tools to everybody else in the world. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here. And I hope you'll come back as a guest, because I know that there'll probably be a lot of listeners that would want to hear more from you. And thank you for, reaching out and wanting to be on this podcast. It's been a real blessing.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been an amazing conversation, and I'm taking away that alchemy idea. Thank you so much for expressing that, because that gives a whole new meaning, and I am truly grateful for that.
Please remember to be kind to yourself.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit. It's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under LiftOneSelf. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, LiftOneSelf.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.